What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I am Necrotic Nick, and I have a collection update for you. Now, this one is actually kind of like an impromptu one, just because I got that 6 CD grab bag from Unspeakable Axe. So I kind of combined it with the small stack of stuff that I already had, and by small I mean I still had a fair amount of stuff. So this is also a review on the stuff that came in there. So yeah, let's just get right into this. Bloodfreak, Multiplex Massacre. Now this is their third album, and this one was on its way when I was doing all the other stuff with Bloodfreak in there, and it just didn't get here in time, but I think I may have found a new favorite. This one is notably thrashier than the other ones. I think the tone is way more crunchy rather than kind of murky and almost kind of muddy. Really solid stuff on here, and of course all the fun horror samples and little interludes and ridiculous song titles. The first actual track is called Cleavage Cleaver. That's pretty awesome. Go for the gross out. This is pretty much in that realm of like impaled, exhumed, definitely some carcass worship in there. Tons of fun. I absolutely love this one. I pretty much have loved everything I've got from them, but this one in particular has been a lot of fun to jam. Definitely check out Bloodfreak. The Famine, The Architects of Guilt. Now this was this band's second album. I actually had their first album. I saw this in a used bin for like $3, and I was like, well, why not? And it's okay. This was a deathcore band, but they leaned a little bit more heavily towards the death metal side of things. Like they kind of sounded more like Black Dahlia Murder, except maybe a little bit messier in terms of transitions and such. There are some really good songs in here, but most of the time it just seems like they were trying to cram every idea in there at once. And this is kind of an interesting one because this came out on Solid State Records, which is known for being predominantly a Christian label. And these guys pretty much specified they have Christians in the band. They're just not all Christians, and they didn't necessarily talk about stuff that was directly geared towards that subject matter. So you actually have some, more in-depth discussions about different stuff on here in terms of the lyrical quality. But this band broke up not too long after this release, and they've all since moved on to different projects. And this is an okay album. I recommend the first one a bit more than this one, but still not a bad release. And of course, check it out, form your own opinion. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Aggravator, self-titled EP. Now this pretty much kicks off the stuff that I got in the Unspeakable Axe box, and this is a killer EP. Front to back, I absolutely love this. It's labeled as thrash metal, but I think it's more of a death thrash thing. Like it really has that sound of like early Pestilence or even like Possessed and such. The vocals though are very similar to Jeff Walker's Token Snarl. I absolutely love this. All 6 tracks in here I thought were absolute bangers. The foot is on the gas throughout. The production definitely has that, late 80s, early 90s style. I think the cymbals sound a little odd, like a little tingy, like they don't sound very full, but overall I really just enjoyed the shit out of this. This was a lot of fun to listen to, and man, I'm gonna have to go find some more of this band stuff because, yeah, this is a great sampler size. So thank you, Unspeakable Axe. You definitely throw out a banger here. Alright, this is the Cist Solstice split that I got. Now this one I actually ordered. This didn't come in the grab bag. This actually just has 1 track from each band. The Cist track, Synthetic Life, is fantastic. If you haven't heard of Cist, they are a Russian death thrash band. A lot of their stuff really reminds me of like Death, Pestilence, Obituary. It's just absolutely killer stuff. The riffs are very creative. There are lots of cool harmonies throughout. The vocals are somewhere between Chuck Schuldiner and John Tardy, so if all that sounds awesome, definitely check out their full length. I believe that was in another collection update of mine, but just look into Cist. And the Solstice track is pretty good, Eyes Sewn Shut. Now I believe Solstice is actually going to put out a new full length here soon, either that or it's already out. It's hard to keep track of all this stuff because we're being hurled music left and right. But this is a pretty solid track. It's straight up death thrash. I think the breakdown around the lead part in the song is a little dull, but for the most part, pretty solid offering from these guys, and this was a killer little cheap split. So yeah, definitely check out both bands if you haven't checked them out. Definitely check out Cist though. Those guys are absolutely fantastic. Gravewards, Ruinous Insolvent. This is the debut album from these guys. They are a Greek death metal band. This came out in 2018, also on Unspeakable Axe. And this is just kind of okay. Vocally, it's really odd because all the vocals are a very short like almost hardcore bark. Like there really aren't a lot of growls that are sustained. And the mix is kind of odd on this too. Like the guitars are very much up front, very distant, very chunky and heavy, but sometimes they can just blend into a wall of noise. And I don't like how the drums sound in here. In fact, the bass drums, when they're going full bore, it sounds like a go-kart revving up, which to me isn't the sound you want out of a bass drum. But a lot of this just feels crowded. A lot of similar ideas just kind of running into each other, so you just kind of get this blender of heavy noise, essentially. And it just really didn't appeal to me. There aren't too many hooks on here. There were some moments in here that I really liked, like, you know, a couple of nice chuggy breakdowns to really break it up. But for the most part, I was kind of disappointed by this one. Again, there are some moments in here that I thought were pretty cool, and I definitely recommend you check them out just to form your own opinion. Don't just take my word for it. But yeah, this one was kind of a miss for me, but who knows, you guys might like it. Hellish, the Spectre of Lonely Souls. This is a Chilean blackened thrash band. This is their second release, came out in 2018, also on Unspeakable Axe, and this is really solid stuff. The mix on here is pretty much exactly what I expected in terms of like the overall sound. Like they love that raw, gritty sound, especially like most South American acts. And this actually reminds me a lot of Schizophrenia, especially the drums. The drums have those like open concert tom sounds. And overall, like the riffs and songs really remind me a lot of Sarcophago, which that's a hell of a band to emulate. Really solid stuff. I really love the guitar melodies in here, and the bass is very prominent in the mix. It's kind of an odd mix because sometimes the bass seems more forward than the guitars in some sections. But overall, I love the songwriting in here. It's high energy, it's constantly flying in your face, and man, this is just a good time. I'm definitely looking for more. I believe they have one other full length, and I'm just gonna have to check it out because I really dug this one. So yeah, definitely check these guys out. Hemotoxin, Restructure the Molded Mind. Now this came out this year on Unspeakable Axe, and this is some really just technical, progressive death thrash. These guys are from Pittsburgh, California, which I didn't know California had a Pittsburgh, so I learned something there. That's cool. In terms of the style on here, this is very similar to like later death stuff, like individual thought patterns, or even symbolic to a degree. Lots of really cool melodies and really intricate guitar work, like very angular. There's some stuff in here that's a little jazz fusion-y-ish, so you get some moments that sound a little bit like Cynic or even like Atheist. Now this also includes their Alchemist EP, which I have to say took a weird turn. The second to last track I thought was going to be a longer track, much like the one before it, Incessant Existence. Then all of a sudden the music cuts out and you get silence, and you get like some drunken voicemail from someone promoting a show, and that's how that part closes. There seemed like there was room for more song, and it just kind of stops for whatever reason. And then you get the Black Sabbath cover, After Forever, which honestly, it just seems a little sloppy, and the fact that the harsh vocals really don't mix because that song has a really great vocal melody to it, it just really put me off. But in terms of their overall sound, this is some really, really cool technical death thrash, I guess you could call it, or progressive death thrash. Solid stuff. It's pretty much as crazy as this album cover is, which kind of reminds me a lot of like Cathedral album covers. Could be the same artist, I don't think so though. Either way, definitely check this band out. This was a really interesting release. Maligner Demon EP. Now this is the last one I got in the Unspeakable Axe box, and this is a kick-ass EP. These guys are a Swedish death thrash band, and 5 tracks of just unrelenting death thrash. Lots of groovy hooks and big chuggy breakdowns. I absolutely love this album. It is just furious. Reminds me a lot of like early Vader, and it pretty much like captures the thrash metal feel with all the attitude, but it has like that more intricate death metal structure, so that's like one of those little perfect balances. 5 tracks, really nothing on here is filler at all. It is just an absolute just torrent of intensity. Definitely looking for more by these guys. This was solid, absolutely killer. Definitely check this band out. Ahtme Mephitic. I think that's how you pronounce that band's name. I'm not entirely sure. Ahtme. Choose your own path to phonetic destiny on that one. This is their second album, and I have to say this is drastically improved from their first album, Sewerborn. Production is much better. It's very clear, very crisp, but I kind of guess you'd want that in their style because they play very aggressive tech death. But the thing I like about this is it's very riffy. Like, there are lots of groovy pockets, lots of just riffy hooks. It's not all just guitar noodling and such. Now, there's plenty of that, and I think the level of syncopation on this album is absolutely incredible. But I like the fact that they have these little cool nods, especially like Suffocation or Decapitated, and even like Psychroptic to a degree too. Now, if there was one thing I could knock this album on, there's not a lot of build-up in terms of songs. Like, you're not building up to moments. Everything is just explosive, like that moment, that moment, that moment, which is cool. I mean, if you're looking for an absolutely intense listen that is just going for the throat in every track, definitely check this out. If you want something with maybe a little bit more nuance, maybe check out something else, but I would strongly recommend this one, just in terms of the fact that they have improved immensely from their first album. Very, very good stuff. Definitely check these guys out. Expunged. Expunged. It's their self-titled debut EP. This came out on PRC Music, and this is a Canadian death metal three-piece. Very, very gritty death metal. In fact, I think this kind of goes beyond just a raw recording. It's just kind of muddy and not particularly well produced. The guitars are very murky and right up front, and I think the drums need to come up. But the drums have an interesting sound too, because they kind of have almost an industrial metal sound, especially that snare. Like, it sounds like a snare you would hear on a Godflesh album, honestly. But overall, like, style-wise, like, lots of D-beat driven stuff, some bolt thrower and jungle rot sort of stuff, like very meat and potatoes death metal. In terms of their style and songwriting, I think it's pretty solid, but the recording definitely kind of hampers it a bit, kind of takes away. Unless you're into like super murky recordings, this is pretty damn close. There's definitely some stuff in this stack that's murkier, but I think this one could have benefited from like a little bit more polished production. Not by much, just a little bit. Either way, definitely check these guys out. This was a fun listen. Valkyrie Fear. This is Valkyrie's new album. This is, of course, Pete Adams' band, formerly of Baroness. This is his main focus now that he left Baroness, and this is just a nod to everything I love about classic rock, if we're being completely honest here. I love the riffs, the guitar harmonies. It has like that Black Sabbath, Blue Oyster Cult, Thin Lizzy sort of feel. Songwriting in here is absolutely killer. Vocals are good. Sometimes they feel like they're a bit much, but every song on here is just riffy and well crafted, built on solid melodies. It's definitely more of a rock album than a metal album, but in terms of songwriting, it's just absolutely fantastic. It is just all about rocking and riffing out and just melodic hooks, and man, did they fucking kill it on this one. Really solid stuff. Definitely check out this album. Check out any of Valkyrie's albums. And Pete Adams is an awesome songwriter. Check it out. Four Doors to Death. So I picked up the second one not too long ago because I saw it advertised when I was ordering something on Unspeakable Axe. I can't remember what. So I saw this one on Discogs and I was like, well, hell, it's a good price and we might as well check this out. So we have 4 different bands on here and we're going to go through them, at least give each one a nod. So the first one was Cemetery Filth. They had 3 tracks on here, and I have their new album, their studio release. They're a death metal band from Atlanta, Georgia, fiercely old school. This is a little bit different in terms of recording. Like, I think the vocals sound different, and it's definitely a more raw recording, but pretty solid stuff. Sometimes the songwriting kind of ventures off into, you know, whatever they were feeling at the moment, and sometimes it doesn't necessarily sound very good. But for the most part, you can hear like their start there, because I think their new album is really good. Then we had a couple from Ectovoid, which, man, that is some very heavy, almost death doomy stuff, like just dense and murky. I absolutely love the 2 tracks in here, and I need to find some of their stuff. Then we had 2 tracks from Sabotory, which is old school death metal. Sounds a lot like Pestilence and Asphyx, because the very dry vocals, you know, very much like Martin Van Druin or, you know, Skeletal Remains if you're looking for something a little bit more modern. Solid songs. Definitely got into them. There's even a cover of a song by Mortuary Drape. I don't have the song title back here, so I can't tell you which one, but it was really good. And then we had Trench Rot, which was my favorite, and of course, they're broken up, but I can see why. A couple of the members are actually in Cryptworm, which I really want those guys to keep going. They are an incredible doom metal band. The frontman also played bass on this and Unrest, which was an absolutely killer grindcore band. I think I brought it up in Underrated Grind. And every track on here I really loved. They even did a cover of Death's Evil Dead, which was fantastic. But unfortunately, trying to find a CD for under 30 bucks on Discogs is pretty rough, and it's even more pricey on Amazon, so just gonna have to be patient with that one, because man, that sucks those guys broke up. But again, I can see why. They're busy. But yeah, this is a solid compilation, and I absolutely love getting compilations again. It definitely kind of brings me back when I was snagging compilations left and right when I was a teenager, because that was a great way to get a whole bunch of bands on one disc, and you might find your new favorite. So yeah, definitely check this out. Check out the other one too, for sure. Puncture Wound. Complete carnage of coagulating cacophonous corpses. Okay, Jammin' John actually did this one on his What's John Jammin' segment. I forget which one. It was a little while ago, but these guys are an Australian death metal act, and these guys are fiercely old school. Everything on here just reminds me of Florida in the 90s in terms of just all the death metal that was pouring out. Machine-like precision, chugging guitars, little bits of thrashy elements, but man, these guys can dial up some hooks. And there's definitely a nice sense of humor here in terms of the over-the-top gore. Like, the opening track is Necro-Insemination. Gross, but awesome. Perverse sodomy infatuation. Okay. Again, over-the-top, ridiculous, but man, these guys deliver giant hooks in all these songs. I absolutely love this. Even the last one, which I think was kind of odd, it's called Dark in Ways, and it's just pretty much this little guitar melody. You know, very dreamy and very melodic, unlike everything on this album. So it kind of comes out of left field, but I think it's really good. Overall, though, definitely check this band out. This is their debut full length. It's out on 1054 Records. Absolutely killer stuff. Front to back, I absolutely love this album. I'm definitely going to look into getting their EP if I can too. Check these guys out. Cosmic Putrefaction. The horizon towards which Splendour withers. I think I got that right? Yep, that's right. I'm not even going to go into the song titles because they're all giant sentences. But I will go into the music, which is absolutely fantastic. This is a one-man death metal act, and it is absolutely killer. This is on I Void Hanger Records, and this is just absolutely like just nuts death metal. Very atmospheric, very technical, but still very riffy. There's lots of cool, catchy riffs on here, but brutality and just insane song structure is pretty much what this album does. I was actually hanging out with Jammin' John, and he was playing this, and I heard it. It was like, dude, that is absolutely nuts. I have to check this out. And I actually jammed it on their Bandcamp, at least a couple of the tracks, and it was like, yeah, no, I'm a fan right away. This stuff sounds chaotic, but is very meticulously crafted. And I have to say, for a one-man band, this guy excels at all the instrumentation on here. Drum work is absolutely solid. It doesn't sound like a drum machine at all, and if it is, they have one hell of a programmer, because it really sounds real. Guitar work is very layered. All sorts of like ambient, you know, bridges and noise in the background. It's just a wild listen. Definitely check this one out. This is an absolutely killer release. I'm gonna see if I can find a copy of their first album as well, because if it's anything like this, I want it, because this is good. Check it out. And finally we have Cryptworm, Reeking Gunk of Abhorrence. This is their second EP, and I have to give them props for using the word gunk. It is underused. I mean, I've heard festering slime and all that stuff in here, but gunk sounds just as gross, if not a little bit thicker too. And this album is loaded with gunk in terms of the production. It is very murky and muddy, but it kind of works in terms of just the overall feel. It sounds like Undergang or Sanguicenabog, which very underground as well, but it's kind of close. It's thick, murky, swampy, dingy, all those choice adjectives. It's awesome though. Lots of like D-beat punky sections. It honestly sounds more like a demo than anything else, but it is just awesome. And surprisingly, through all this nasty guitar work and burped vocals, there are a lot of just fun riffy hooks on here. Excellent stuff. I definitely want to check out their first EP as soon as they put it on CD. I think it's only on 7-inch for download. But I'm definitely looking for more by this band. This was a lot of fun to listen to. Check it out. Alright, well that knocks out another one of these. Gonna get back to doing some more reviews and such. Definitely some releases we have on our radar in terms of bigger ones coming up. And we're back with Screaming Toilet too, so look for those reviews as well, because it's a good chance to actually find out about some more underground bands that I don't do in collection updates or Jam & John brings up. So yeah, just another thing where you can find more music courtesy of us. So, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. Catch you guys later.